Hello, good evening, and welcome everybody. I'm here with you guys today to play a certain Minecraft mod pack. This mod pack is Hexxit. This was kind of a fad about 10 years ago. It's a mod pack made for it's a mod pack made for version 1.5 of Minecraft. So this is pretty old. It's old as dirt, as a matter of fact. And well, you might be wondering, well, why am I choosing to record myself playing a mod pack that's 10 years old? Well, at least I think, well, maybe like even older than 10 years old, maybe like 12 or 13 years old. I don't remember. When did 1.5 come out? You might be wondering why I want to do this. Well, because Hexxit has a single-player world that I've had for much longer than any other single-player world. On top of that, Hexxit is one of the only, it's pretty much the only mod pack that I've ever played that I really understand what's going on most of the time. So there's other mod packs I think Tech-It, or maybe another one might be Feed the Beast or Attack of the Bee Team, and I've tried playing those, and a lot of those are tech themed mod packs, and well, I guess it's kind of hard for me to know what's going on. I'm kind of overwhelmed with what to do with so many options of things to do. I've never really learned how to use industrial craft, and well, does that reflect poorly on my intelligence? Does it reflect poorly on my attention span? Probably both. But I think one of the things that made Hexxit really accessible to me is that it has a really good wiki, explaining most of the items, and because of that wiki, which is still available, by the way, you can look it up. I've been able to do just about pretty much everything that you can do in Hexxit. Well, to a certain extent, I've crafted most of the items, and I've collected most of the sort of rare, unique, cool items that you can get. And yeah, I'd like to basically just show off my world, and maybe if this video turns out sort of okay, I might make more videos of me, doing some kind of mundane things. It's another reason why I'm, choosing to record myself playing this, is because I got a new computer recently, and it's a fairly decent computer. Well, it's a pre-built that I just got from Best Buy, but this is the first time in my life where I'm owning a computer that doesn't totally suck ass. So I'm going to take advantage of that to the extent that I can. And, well, where am I right now? Well, I'm at my old house. This is not the current house that I live at. It's, well, it's just, I think this is the second house that I made, or it might be the third house, technically. And I took away the floor because it was made of kind of a rare material called time wood. I might talk about that in a moment. Now, yeah, I guess it's kind of an okay house. I'm not really. I was never really good with building. I don't really have much like mental capacity, spatial skills, whatever, yada 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 yada. And I for some reason I don't know how to match colors. So I don't know if any of this looks just absolutely hideous to people, or if it looks sort of okay. I don't know. There's a lighthouse that I built there a while back. I was in high school when I created this world, I should add. I'm not 100% sure how old the world is, but I did check out of curiosity into the the files for this particular save, and the oldest file I could find was dated to I think January or February of 2017. So this is about 8 years at this point. A little over, actually. So yeah, and this clunky thing, I was like a high schooler when I built that. That's my excuse that I'm running with. And you guys might be wondering, well, how am I flying? Well, I'm riding this thing called a gold chocobo. This is added from a mod called ChocoCraft, I think. And basically what it does is it allows you to, well, it gives you these rideable birds. So what you're seeing here are these yellow chocobos. They spawn naturally in the wild. You can ride them if you put a saddle on them. And you can breed them. Now the yellow chocobos themselves are kind of slow moving, and they don't fly. They're totally flightless. But you can breed them, and you can sort of like work your way up to have like better and better chocobos. You get like a blue chocobo and a green chocobo. You breed those together. You can get a white chocobo, and then breed further. You get a black chocobo until finally, you get progressively better chocobos until you get the gold chocobo, which is super fast and above all, it can fly, which is really, really nice. And that's what I'm riding here. This is the I think this is like either the second or the third house that I lived in. What I did here is I just like took one of these randomly generated structures, and I sort of like patched up all like the holes in the wall, and I lived there briefly. And I think I moved away pretty quickly because there was just no space there. Yeah, so that building would have looked something like this building when I first moved into it. So the nice thing about like Hexxit is, like I said, it's not like a tech mod pack. It's more of like an adventure-based mod pack. It gives you like a ton of generated structures. Like that right there, that's a generated structure, and there would be like a whole bunch of different enemies you have to fight to get to the top of the tower, and once you do, you might have to like fight a boss of some sort, and then I've looted this, of course. So there's nothing really interesting in there, but yeah, you can get some pretty nice things. And here, you have these battle towers, which you basically, you go down like however many flights of stairs, fighting off mobs. And then when you get to the bottom, you get some really nice loot, but you have to fight this. Giant at the very end, and as soon as you kill the giant, well, the battle tower starts exploding. So you have to kind of lead. You have to kind of leave quickly afterwards. And here we're coming up upon my current house, which I'm currently working on improving. I'm improving the area. So this area here, it used to be, I guess, sort of like it's one of these modded biomes. It's kind of like a half swamp. It's just like a swamp, except the grass isn't completely green, like vomit green and gross looking. So what I've been doing here is I've been just trying to flatten out the land as best as possible, and trying to build cool things here. So here, I'm building right next to this village here. My brother, back when I was we were living in the same house together, he would hop on land sometimes, and he did a few nice things. I don't remember that meteor impact being there. That's kind of interesting. Oh yeah, there are meteors in this game, by the way. So he kind of revamped this village. He put in kind of this retaining wall, which is, I think, kind of nice. And this is a house that he got halfway through building, and then he just gave up. And he hasn't been on since. Yeah, my brother would have built that. He would have built that, I think, when we were both in high school together. So yeah, he hasn't been here for a while. It's my beacon. That's kind of like an inconvenient place for my beacon. I kind of want to like move that somewhere else maybe. This is my garage for my chocobos. And this is the main room of my house. I guess I'll start from the top floor. One of my missions that I, sort of made for myself at the outset, well, not at the outset, but, like I kind of got like, sidetracked on like a quest of like trying to get all of the armor sets offered by all the mods. One of the really interesting ones I got here is this one here. Well, it looks like this is a completely empty armor stand, but if I right click it, it's basically a leather tunic, but I used some sort of invisible dye to make it look completely invisible. So it looks like an empty armor stand, but it's not. The armor's just invisible. I can't remember how I got the invisible dye. I really don't remember, but it's besides the point here. And I guess armor, like I guess like, well, what's the best armor? There's so many options to choose from. I think I think one of the best choices would be this scale armor. It's at least as good as diamond armor, and I'm wearing it right now. And one of the nice things it does is it gives you some buffers. It gives you a permanent strength, resistance, and fire resistance buffer. The haste comes from the the beacon, so that's something else. So it's really nice. Not especially easy to craft, but also not totally ridiculous. You can look up like, well, how would I craft this? Well, I guess for like the scale leggings, you would need a little bit of obsidian and gold, and you need this hexical diamond. Whoops. And I guess like the hexical diamond, you would in case of diamond and 4 hexical essences, and well, these hexical essences, you just find these out in the wild. They kind of look like flowers. I think they're called hex flowers or whatever. And I don't know, I guess like what else? Few items of interest here. This is an uncrafting table. It allows you to uncraft things. So for instance, if let me find something I can uncraft here, like this diamond sword. If I wanted to uncraft it, I put it in here, and well, it costs me 2 XP points, and I can get all the original components that went with the diamond sword, and that's kind of nice. Because well, if I accidentally craft something on accident that I didn't want to craft, I can uncraft it. It just comes at the cost of taking away a little bit of XP. Well, speaking of XP, you might be wondering, well, how did I get 229 levels of XP? And cards on the table. I took advantage of a glitch, and the glitch actually comes from this thing to the immediate left right here. This is an essence storer, I think it's called. Basically what it does is it allows you to store your XP in these green crystals. I could right click on this thing and so it says I store some essence, and I can make a withdrawal by left clicking. It gives me this green essence crystal, which I can eat. And you can see it gave me back 231 XP points. Now, the interesting thing here is that it always seems, I guess, like whoever coded this particular aspect of this particular mod, maybe did his or her math wrong. And so, like, if I only had like 1 level of XP, or like 2 or 3 levels of XP, and I right click it and I store it in here, I take it out, and I eat that essence crystal, I'm gonna get like something ridiculous, like 200 levels of XP. So it's like an infinite XP glitch. It's kind of ridiculous, and well, I mean, I'm pretty much like the only person playing on this world, apart from occasionally, my brother. I'm okay with taking advantage of glitches. And I guess what else do I have here? I mean, so this looks like a gas tab that's floating. This is a trophy that comes from fighting a certain boss. That comes from the what do you say, the Twilight Forest. So the Twilight Forest, so a certain dimension in there you can go to. I don't seem to have a Twilight Forest portal around here, anywhere. I don't remember what happened to it. Got rid of it or something. It might have gotten blown up by a creeper, and I just covered it up with dirt. But there's a number of generated structures you can find in the Twilight Forest. And some of these have bosses that you can fight, and fighting a certain boss will get you a trophy. And for the gas, which is basically just like a super large gas with like 200 points of health. You kill it, you get this gas trophy, and another one might be like here. This is the Hydra trophy. Fighting the Hydra in the Twilight Forest. And I think that's called the Naga. That's another one you can get, and that's the Lich trophy. Yeah, and stuff like that. This is kind of cool here. I guess like one of these things you can find in dungeon chests is these universal flower pots. You can right-click one of these universal flower pots, and you can put anything in it you want. It doesn't have to be a flower per se. Like I can put TNT in there, and I can have like TNT in a flower pot, which is, I guess, kind of cool. And I might have some of the interesting, tools and weapon sets, stored here as decorations. I guess down here, this is a smeltery. This is I don't know what the technical term for this, but this comes from a mod called Tinker's Construct, which is really nice. It's one of my favorite mods. It's very useful, and it takes some getting used to, but once you know how to use it, it's extremely useful. It basically is like you have like your way of obtaining ordinary vanilla tools. This gives you like another sort of like completely different way to like make your own tools. And you can melt down all sorts of metals in here, but you can also melt down things like sand and make glass, for instance. So you would load this up with lava, and then you put what you want to melt and see here. It's like slowly like melting into glass. And the nice thing about this, well, it makes perfectly clear glass when you do it. I guess like when that finishes, I'd be able to like pour it out, drain into these sort of containers right here, and I would be able to make clear glass, which you can see over here. I'm not completely done with the basement. There's some more things I'd like to do. Again, I'll mention that I can't match colors, so I'm not quite sure if using like these red bricks on these white bricks I don't know if that's hideous or not. I can't tell. I'm probably gonna put something like a nether wart farm over here, or maybe like one of those vertical cactus farms that you see in old school faction servers. So yeah, I can melt these down. Right click on these faucets, and it fills up. And they got the animations really nice, which is cool. Takes a moment to harden. And so I got this clear glass. Yeah, I'll just put that there for now. So one of the really sort of nice things that about Hexxit is that there's just so many different really cool items, and there's so many of them. that if you want to like carry around everything with you, you'd run out of inventory space pretty quickly. So what I do is I have this blue backpack here with all of like the really cool, super useful things that you'd want to be carrying around at all times. I guess like a few interesting things in here is well, apart from some of the vanilla things that I want to carry around at all times, you can get this thing called a minewood core. I'll demonstrate this. This comes from a minewood tree. So you can see these. Now these minewood trees, they do not spawn naturally anywhere in the game. You can only get the saplings from the Twilight Forest, and basically they come from certain loot chests that you find up in these giant oak trees that spawn naturally in the Twilight Forest. So you can see up there, you can see that sort of like boxy tuft of leaves. You can tell just by the shape of it that that's going to be like hollowed out in the inside, and there's going to be some loot chests in there. And if you go through enough of those, you'll eventually find some. Some saplings for minewood as well as a few other trees. Like for instance, there's like these weird looking trees with like the heart logos on them. Those you can find saplings for those. These giant oak trees in the Twilight Forest. But back to what the minewood core does. So as you can see here, it's already working immediately. There's this green button on it. I can flick it on and off by right-clicking. But when I flick it on, it's going to automatically start bringing ores to the surface, which I can mine. I've got a this is a pickaxe I made using the Tinker's Construct, and there's like its own enchantment system, and one of the sort of enchantments that I can get they're called modifiers technically. It's auto smelt combined with fortune or luck as it's called. Allows me to convert my ores directly into ingots, which is nice. So slowly over time, it's going to keep bringing up more and more ores, and I don't know when is it going to bring up any new ones. I don't really know, but it's going to keep doing this over and over again, and until you click it off and then take it back away with you. Put that away. Another one of these interesting things you can get is it's called an ankh or an ankh, which is I guess like sort of like an ancient Egyptian religious symbol or whatever. And the cool thing you can do with this is you can right-click it, and it's going to send fireballs down from the sky, to where you clicked. And you can't just do this willy-nilly. Because it does take like a half a heart away from you, and maybe a little bit of hunger as well. If the more you use it, so you can't just like spam click it arbitrarily. That's kind of cool. Some other things here of interest. I don't know, you got one of these cursed bones, which you can put in Breaking 3 on, which is kind of nice, and you get these from killing, I think these mob bosses called necromancers, which spawn in one of any number of these generated structures that you see across throughout the world, and you right click it and it spawns a bunch of minions for you until it runs out of durability. And these people, these guys will fight for you. And it's if you're going like a boss battle and you want some some homies to back you up, you can take these with you. And I realize I can't kill these and get rid of them. So Whoops, I think they might be following me around for the rest of the video. I don't know what else we got. One of these mods that we got is this thing called Zeno's Reliquary. And it adds a bunch of sort of like biblical relic themed items to the game. And one of these is the Holy Hand Grenade. And, well, it's a grenade. Explodes on impact. And one of the nice things about this is it doesn't destroy any of the surrounding blocks, and it doesn't do any damage to you. So I guess that's kind of nice. I don't really use that very often. Another one of these nice things is this thing is called Sojourner's Staff. And basically what it does is you can fill it up with torches, and it allows you to place torches from very, very far away. Although if you try placing torches, on blocks from very far away, it uses up, more than one torch. To account for the fact that, I guess, counteract the fact that it's, you're placing the torches from so far away. That's kind of nice. Another interesting thing is this thing called the Destruction Catalyst. And it's pretty useful. It basically feeds on gunpowder. So I could right-click a block. It destroys a 3x3x3 area of blocks, and it only destroys vanilla blocks. And I don't think it touches the auras either. If you can see, each time I use it, it eats up 3 bits of gunpowder each time. So you've got to use this a bit carefully. And I guess, well, what else is there to do? Well, I guess another thing that might be worth showing off is this thing here called the Tomb of the Alcahest. So you might be wondering, well, how do I get so much gunpowder? I don't have a creeper farm. I guess there's nothing preventing me from making a creeper farm. I probably could. But I don't have to. I can use this thing called the Tomb of the Alcahest. And I can click U, hovering over Tomb of the Alcahest, and it can show me all the cool things it does. For instance, this Tomb of the Alcahest allows me to duplicate nether stars. Provided that I have the wither skeleton skulls already. And for instance, maybe I don't really feel like fighting the wither. I can just duplicate a wither another star that I already have. But I'd have to craft these things called glowing water, and then making that. Well, you can see here it's kind of convoluted. In fact, I think more often than not, I'd rather just fight the wither. But there's a bunch of other things I can do with it. For instance, I guess with some diamond blocks, I can make more dragon eggs. One of the nice things about this is it allows me to take some block that I already have and say I want more of it. I can craft more of it, provided that I just have some redstone sitting on hand. You might be wondering, well, does going through this crafting recipe eat the tomb, the Alcahest? And no, it doesn't. You always get it back, so you don't have to craft it again, because this thing it's not easy to craft. It's a bit of a task, and let me look up the recipe here. I guess not too crazy. No, not too crazy. I guess getting the wither skeleton skull would be the hardest part of all of this. But for me, getting wither skeleton skulls is actually pretty easy. One of the new enchantments added as part of the mods is this thing called Decapitate, which I put on an axe. I put it on my sword, but and the thing is, all the mob heads really fill up your inventory very quickly, so I just put it on my axe and then just use the axe on the wither skeletons. I don't know where I was going with this, but this Decapitate enchantment seriously increases the odds that you're going to get a skull from any mob that you kill with it. Back to the Tomb of the Outcast, though. For instance, I can make more dirt if I want. I can make more cobblestone, sand, etc. All these wood blocks and clay blocks, so on and so forth. And even diamonds, although that's a little bit expensive with the lapis lazuli. But I can also make more gunpowder. That would require 4 redstone. So like here, what I could do here is something like this. And then, look at that, I've got more gunpowder now. Just from redstone. Yeah, I think I'll go to sleep. I guess another weird thing you guys might have noticed, some of you guys who maybe have played Hexxit before, you might be wondering, did Hexxit have like this TVs, radios, and computers in them? And no, they didn't. The only way I changed Hexxit, the way that I play it versus the way that it usually comes prepackaged, is I added this extra mod called Mr. Crayfish's Furniture mod, and it adds a bunch of like furniture items. I think you can get these couches, these record displays. Yeah, I collected all 13 of the music discs. I wanted to like show that off. The computer is interesting. You can mine bay. Some of the items that you can get from Mr. Crayfish's Furniture mod. If you don't feel like crafting them, you can buy them off mine bay using a certain number of emeralds. These couches and blinds and whatnot. TV doesn't work. It says missing texture. I'm not quite sure what went wrong there. The radio is kind of glitchy. If you can turn it on, you can change stations, and each station will just be each of the 13 different songs that you get on the music discs. But for some reason, apparently you can't really turn it off. And if you try left clicking it, it will just like break. It won't drop anything. So I don't touch that. This is the time wood I was talking about here. This time wood, like the mine wood, you can only get the saplings for the time wood from the Twilight Forest, from the top of those gigantic oak trees. So this is very rare, and I guess this is like a mine wood core. You can flick it on and off, and I think like the only thing this does is it just makes a ticking sound, so it sounds like you have a clock in your house, which I guess is it might be annoying sometimes. I don't really care personally, but you can see here I've used this time wood to make the floor, and it looks kind of like unassuming. It just like looks like any other type of like new tree type that you'd get from a mod, but it took blood, sweat, and tears to be able to get the floor made out of this. So it may not look crazy extravagant, but it would have been more humble of me to like maybe use like diamond blocks for the floor, if that makes sense. Some of the stuff I got going on outside here, I've got some animals. I'm working on expanding this. I want to have like more pens with animals. So of course I've got like the ordinary like sheep and cows, but some of the other. Oh, I didn't mean to hit that chocobo. Whoops. Some of the other things out here, I've got ostriches and armadillos, chocobos, which I've already talked about. These are the chocobos that I had to like breed together to get this gold chocobo here. But the ostriches and the armadillos, these are added by a mod called Project Zulu, and like the main deal with Project Zulu is that it allows you to make a whole bunch of extra, new potions, and it gives you like a whole new system for, developing potions, which I haven't experimented much with. I don't really know much about what goes into it, but a lot of these potions, the ingredients come from, these various animal species that the mod has added, and the ostriches and the armadillos are only like two of a whole bunch of them. Like this grizzly bears, polar bears, beavers, crocodiles, horses, and so on. There's rideable horses here. not provided from actual vanilla Minecraft, because remember, this is 1.5 Minecraft this is based off of, and I don't think horses were added until sometime between 1.8 and 1.12. But yeah. So this is an island I built in the middle of this sort of like, I guess, sort of this lagoon or big lake type situation here. And what I did here is, you'll notice that the ground here is 1 block below sea level. And well, why did I do that? Well, I was trying to go for like a sort of like a Netherlands thing. They have these polders where they section off some land below sea level in the ocean, and they'll drain all the water out with windmills. And I thought that was kind of cool, and I wanted to like make something like that in Minecraft here. And it was pretty difficult. Well, the main reason why it was so difficult is that you don't have working sponges in 1.5. I think like they made sponges soak up water. I think that was like 1.13 maybe when they updated Aquatica. And there are technically sponges in 1.5 Minecraft, but they have no physics attached to them, and ordinarily you can only get them through creative mode. They do spawn naturally in Hexxit. You can get them from certain statues that show up in the end. So what I had to do here to like clear out all the water from this region, from this island, I had to like cover the entire island in like dirt blocks, and then remove all the dirt blocks to get rid of the water. That took a while, but I like the results. I think this is kind of cool. I don't pretend to be a great builder. I don't know if that looks cool or not, but I like it. And I just recently built a second island here with all the different types of berries you can get in the game. And I'm working on building a third island that I think I'll use for growing melons and pumpkins, and maybe also aloe vera, which is new. I've been working on flattening out this section of land here. I'm going to build some more stuff here. There's a whole bunch of new crazy, wacky types of trees in this mod pack, and I think this space is going to be like an arboretum for those. That's what I think I'm going to go for. Here, maybe I'm going to put a bunch of sand here and grow some sugarcane, make like a sugarcane farm over here. Not quite sure. Don't know what I'm going to do in this area. Here I've got some extra space. I'm thinking about maybe like building some paths through here, and maybe like putting a bunch of houses down. Make this sort of like a village. I really kind of want to like fill this out, get sort of like an immersion type of situation going on here. That's sort of like the current state of things. I know, like, for having a world for over 8 years, this might look kind of like surprisingly underdeveloped, but you have to remember that this mod pack is more like adventure based. So I most of the time I spent on here would be like visiting all the wacky generated structures around. Trying to collect all the special different types of swords here. But I think that's what I'm going to try to turn my attention to, is to building this place up. And I think that's really all I want to show for now. Yeah, I don't know if this turns out okay. I might make some more videos of me doing some sort of mundane tasks.